I am like the biggest Wicked fan in the entire world. It was the first show I ever even saw on Broadway, and I've kept coming back to it year after year. As I've studied professionally as a musical theater writer and begun to gain some experience as a musical theater writer, I have started to notice the flaws in some of the shows that were my favorite shows when I was younger. Not with Wicked. Wicked, I have kept gaining an appreciation for it. It is so impeccably well crafted, and it is proof to me that you don't need to sacrifice intellectual integrity for widespread financial success and crowd pleasiness. And you don't have to sacrifice financial success and crowd pleasiness for intellectual integrity either. I absolutely love Wicked, so obviously I am very hesitant to watch this trailer. I have not seen it. I am really hoping for the best, but we're going to watch it together. I have not seen this yet. So let me tell you before we start, these are the 3 things that I'm looking for, okay? The first thing is storytelling. With a show that is so magical as Wicked and takes place in a faraway land, I'm concerned that the special effects and, all of that escapism stuff is going to take away from the story at the heart of Wicked, which is actually a really important and political and meaningful story about how we label people. So I'm looking for them to be true to that. Second, I hope that we get to hear Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo sing some of the score, and I'm going to be listening for how they approach it, how closely they adhere to the styles that they are both known for, and how closely they adhere to the original and where the gap is bridged. And then the third thing I'm going to be looking for is what does it look like? I'm just so excited to see how it looks. So I want to make sure that the storytelling is accurate and the it pays attention to the story, and I want to hear the vocals and I want to see what it looks like. So let's check it out. Here we go. I'm kind of nervous because if it really sucks, I'm gonna need to take a week off to mourn. Uh-oh. Okay, this is already really, really good news. Starting the trailer with that line, the best way to bring people together is to give them a really good enemy. They could have started with any line about how Elphaba's green and how she's been a misfit, but the core of the story is that Elphaba is villainized for political reasons. And that ties into today's political landscape really, really well. So I think it's awesome that they took that line to start the trailer, because they're kind of putting that out there as the thesis statement of the movie. And that tells me that they are going to pay really close attention to, the political element of this story. Also, in terms of vocal production here, Cynthia Erivo's going quite breathy, a lot breathier than we might hear on Broadway. And I love that because when you think about an adaptation, something that was a stage musical and is now going to be a movie, the two mediums serve very different purposes and both have very different strengths and weaknesses. And so if you try to take exactly what worked on stage, which is a big live experience, and you're usually sitting very, very far away from the actors, if you try to take what worked on stage and just put it directly to the movie, it's not going to translate as well because the audience is in a different position. The audience is very up close and personal, as opposed to being, sitting 50 rows back. And also, in a movie, you can make it visually look a lot more realistic because you've got CGI and you've got very complicated sets and things that don't have to fly in and out on one stage. So you can make it look a lot more realistic, which means also that it needs to sound more realistic in order for us to buy into it. In live theater, it's okay. We forgive it if it sounds a little bit more like a concert, but in a movie, because it looks more realistic, we expect more of a realistic sound. So that we're getting a really breathy, quiet, something has changed within me, which would not project in the 7 billion seat Gershwin Theater on Broadway, but it works really well on film. So I like that they are adapting it. They're willing to change the things that are important to change from a stage musical to a movie. Remember that line? That line isn't in the musical, I don't think. Once you learn to harness your emotions, the sky's the limit. So I wonder where that's coming from. Yeah, okay, that looks sick. We get like one frame of the Oz face, and it's awesome because it looks very similar actually to the design of the Oz face that's in the musical, but obviously way bigger and more spectacular because you can afford to do that in a movie. Get one nice shot of her flying. Apparently there's going to be a lot of action. So again, what are the things that movies do really well that musicals can't? You can't have, windows breaking and things happening, big explosions happening on a stage 8 times a week. You need to be able to replicate it easily. So the action in musicals needs to be a little bit more stylized and a little bit less bang, flash, crash. But in movies, action movies are awesome. We love watching action movies, and they're easier to do because you only need to film the action happening once. You only need to film that window breaking once so you can actually break the window. That, again, is a really good example of them taking something that works in a musical and changing it to work in the movie. So they're actually showing us more of the fight scenes that happen, because there are fight scenes in the musical, but they're stylized obviously, and we're getting to see them really like realistic explosions, bang, crash, flash in the movie, which I'm actually really excited about. Oh, damn! Okay, so it's the same key as the original. Holy crap, let me listen to that one. Disgusting. Oh my god. Okay, so there again, what can we do in a movie that we could never do on stage? That really raspy sound. That really raspy sound that she's doing. Nobody could really do that 8 times a week. You'll notice when Cynthia Erivo is on Broadway, for example, in The Color Purple, in the recordings of that, she doesn't use that much of that rasp sound. But in a movie, because she only has to record the song once, it's okay if she tires her voice out a little bit because she doesn't have to sing 7 more times. So there's the movie medium gives us the ability to go really raspy and soulful on those riffs. That's unmistakably, obviously, the battle cry at the end of Defying Gravity. Is the original, and she's adding some more notes. So instead of going, which is the original, she's now going, something like that. So she's going down and then back up and then down and back up. So she's just kind of showing off a little bit more, which is awesome. I was hoping Cynthia Erivo would get the chance to show off a little bit more. We don't get to hear a lot of Ariana Grande singing. So I'm still curious to hear if we're going to get her singing more like a musical theater singer or more like Ariana Grande's pop album. I suspect that we are actually going to get Ariana Grande singing like a musical theater singer. I have heard people voicing doubts about Ariana Grande in this movie because she very famously sings with like no diction on her pop tracks, 34, 35, that kind of stuff. But she's a kid of the musical theater. Pop music, there's something cool about like that like sensual feeling where you can't really hear the words because they're just trying to make a mood. But she knows how to do musical theater. She was on Broadway when she was like 15 or something. So I think that she understands the difference between pop singing and musical theater singing, and she's not using a lot of diction in her pop music as a choice to kind of create an effect. Whereas, in a musical, when she's actually trying to tell a story and play a character, I think we will get a little bit more of the words. The other thing is, it's a movie, so the diction doesn't have to be as precise. And as we've seen, they are very willing to do the things that movies can do well that you could never do on stage. The action explosions, the breathy, quiet sound that creates a very vulnerable moment for the character. And then the super soulful, raspy stuff. I also want to give a quick shout out to Cynthia Erivo, by the way. We see her wearing her braids here. Which I think that's awesome. I think it shows I'm a big proponent for like representation, but not just for the sake of representation. You know what I mean? Like it always kind of bugs me when there's like a Latino character whose only job is to be named Carlos so that they can say that they have a Latino character in their show. It's like, okay, well, that could have been anyone. It doesn't. You don't have to pigeonhole, my entire cultural heritage into one character. But in an instance like this, I think there's something about Elphaba being a black woman that is really important to the story. Again, I am obviously, I don't know if you know this, I'm not a black woman. So I only have a very limited ability to speak on this. But Wicked is a political story. It is about a person who is villainized and made out to be a criminal, basically based on just the way she looks. And I feel like black people have that experience and understand that really, really deeply. So I'm really excited to see what Cynthia Erivo brings to the role. And obviously vocally, like fireworks. I'm so into that riff that we got to hear. I'm a little sad we didn't get to hear more, but we will. I'm sure we will. Anyways, thank you so much for watching this with me. If you are watching this the day it comes out, Monday, February 12th, tonight, I have a live stream where I'm going to go through the entire Mean Girls musical, the whole slime tutorial, that means bootleg, don't tell anybody, of the Mean Girls musical. I'm going to go through the whole thing. It's going to be like a 3-hour event on live stream. That's available over at Patreon, so head over to Patreon to check that out if you're free tonight and want to come hang out with me. That's the shameless plug section of this video, and I will see you in the next video. Peace out.